Number 1. Mason Cisk. On September 2, 2019, in the small town of Elkmont, Alabama, with a population of around 500, 14-year-old Mason Wayne Cisk committed a mass murder that claimed the lives of his entire immediate family. The victims were his father, John Wayne Cisk, aged 38, his stepmother, Mary Cisk, aged 35, his 6-year-old brother, Grayson Kane Cisk, his 4-year-old sister, Aurora Rory Cisk, and his 6-month-old brother, Colson Cisk. All were shot in the head at close range while asleep in their beds at the family home on Ridge Road, a rural area northwest of Huntsville near the Tennessee border. This location was known for its quiet, where neighbors kept to themselves and traffic was minimal. Court records and trial evidence later detailed Mason's troubled history within the family. Prosecutors presented accounts of prior incidents, including Mason allegedly attempting to poison his stepmother Mary by contaminating her food with peanut butter, knowing she had a severe allergy that could cause anaphylaxis. He had also stolen jewelry, specifically rings, from Mary. Additionally, he took a firearm from his grandmother's residence without permission. Family members reported Mason's anger management issues, particularly directed at his younger brother Kane, with episodes of uncontrolled rage. These behaviors indicated escalating tensions, though no formal interventions like counseling or child services involvement were documented before the murders. The events unfolded around 10 p.m. that evening. Mason was initially in the basement playing video games, as he later claimed. He then retrieved a 9mm handgun belonging to his father from the home. Methodically, he moved through the house, entering each bedroom and firing a single shot into the head of each family member as they slept. John Cisk was shot in his bedroom, Mary in hers, Kane and Aurora in their shared room, and infant Colson in his crib. Autopsies confirmed each death was instantaneous due to gunshot wounds to the brain, with no defensive injuries or signs of struggle, indicating the victims were unaware and helpless. After the shootings, Mason fled the house on foot and flagged down a passerby, appearing frantic. He claimed to have heard gunshots from the basement and seen an unknown vehicle speeding away, providing details such as its color, size, and direction of travel. Limestone County Sheriff's Office deputies responded promptly, arriving to find the 5 bodies still in their beds, the scene undisturbed except for the fatalities. There was no evidence of forced entry, burglary, or any external intruder. No footprints, tire tracks, or foreign DNA. The home's isolation made an outside perpetrator unlikely without detection. Investigators questioned Mason at the scene and later at the sheriff's office. His initial story raised suspicions due to inconsistencies. His timeline didn't align with the estimated time of death from body temperatures and rigor mortis, and no witnesses or surveillance corroborated the fleeing vehicle. Forensic analysis, including gunshot residue tests, found traces on Mason's hands and clothing, consistent with firing the weapon multiple times. Ballistics matched the bullets to the family's 9mm handgun, recovered at the scene with Mason's fingerprints. During a recorded interrogation, Mason remained composed, which struck detectives as unusual for a traumatized teen. When confronted with the evidence, he shifted his account several times before confessing. In the video, played during his trial, he stated, "Yeah, they argue a lot. And I got fed up with it. And the kids were going through a lot." He admitted to the executions, explaining his motive as frustration with parental arguments and family stress, though he provided no specifics on what the children endured. Prosecutors argued this demonstrated premeditation and lack of remorse. Under Alabama law, juveniles aged 14 or older charged with capital offenses are automatically tried as adults, per Code Section 12-15-204. Mason was arrested and charged with 5 counts of capital murder, later consolidated into 4 counts, 1 for the murder of 2 or more persons, and 3 for murders involving victims under 14. He could not face the death penalty due to his age, per U.S. Supreme Court rulings in Roper v. Simmons 2005, which prohibits capital punishment for those under 18 at the time of the crime. The case proceeded slowly due to legal complexities and COVID-19 delays. Mason was held in juvenile detention initially, then transferred to adult facilities after turning 16. His defense team, led by attorneys Shea Golden and others, filed motions to suppress his confession, arguing it was coerced during a lengthy interrogation without proper Miranda rights or parental presence. They also sought to move the trial from Limestone County due to media coverage, but this was denied. The first trial began in September 2022, before Circuit Judge Chadwick Wise in Athens, Alabama. It lasted several days, with testimony from investigators, forensic experts, and family acquaintances. However, on the eighth day, the defense introduced new evidence from Mary Cisk's cell phone, recovered and analyzed late, showing text messages about family disputes. Prosecutors claimed this was not properly disclosed earlier, leading Judge Wise to declare a mistrial on September 22, 2022, to ensure fairness. By the second trial in April 2023, Mason was 17, turning 18 shortly after. Jury selection took 9 days, with 12 jurors and alternates seated. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Brian C.T. Jones and Assistant to James Ayers, presented over 20 witnesses. Key evidence included the confession video, crime scene photos showing the victims' positions, ballistics reports confirming the weapon's use, and toxicology showing no drugs or alcohol in Mason's system. Witnesses testified to the prior incidents, Mary's allergy and the peanut butter attempt, the stolen rings valued at several $100s, and Mason's theft of a gun from his grandmother, which was returned unused. The defense argued Mason suffered from undiagnosed mental health issues, possibly exacerbated by family dysfunction. They called psychologists who testified to his potential for rehabilitation, citing brain development science from Miller v. Alabama 2012, which restricts life without parole for juveniles except in rare cases of irreparable corruption. They claimed the confession was unreliable due to duress and suggested alternative theories, like an intruder, though without evidence. Closing arguments occurred on April 26, 2023. The jury deliberated for under 2 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all 4 capital murder counts on April 27. Mason showed no visible emotion. Sentencing was scheduled for July 25, but delayed for a hearing on juvenile sentencing factors. On September 7, 2023, Judge Wise sentenced Mason to life without parole. In a 12-page order, he cited U.S. Supreme Court precedents like Montgomery v. Louisiana 2016, requiring consideration of youth's diminished culpability, impulsivity, and reform potential. However, Wise found this case exceptional. The methodical executions of helpless family members, including an infant, the lack of remorse, and the premeditated nature. He described the acts as ghastly, disturbing, and draped in unmitigated evil, noting the victim's vulnerability and comparing it unfavorably to other juvenile cases where parole was granted. Victim impact statements from relatives, including grandparents, emphasized the devastation, with one saying, "The child Mason that I knew died the day you murdered them." Mason's defense appealed immediately, filing for a new trial in December 2023, arguing evidentiary errors, jury bias, and unconstitutional sentencing. Limestone County Circuit Court denied this motion. In 2024, the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals reviewed the case. On November 1, 2024, a 3-judge panel unanimously affirmed both the conviction and sentence, finding no procedural errors and agreeing the crime's heinousness justified life without parole under Jones v. Mississippi 2021, which allows such sentences if judges consider youth factors. As of now, Mason Cisk, aged 19 in 2024, is incarcerated at Limestone Correctional Facility, serving his sentence. No further appeals have succeeded, though federal habeas corpus remains possible. The case drew national attention for its rarity. Fewer than 1% of juvenile murderers receive life without parole nationwide post-Miller. Experts note it highlights gaps in mental health support for at-risk youth, with Alabama ranking low in child welfare services. The Elkmont community held vigils and memorials, raising funds for the victims' burials. Surviving relatives, including aunts and grandparents, expressed ongoing grief in court, describing shattered trust and lifelong trauma. Statistics from the FBI show family annihilations like this are rare, comprising less than 0.5% of homicides, often linked to untreated adolescent behavioral issues. This incident prompted local discussions on gun storage laws, as the weapon was accessible in the home. though Alabama has no child access prevention statutes. In total, the investigation involved over 50 officers, processing 200-plus pieces of evidence, and the trials cost taxpayers an estimated $500,000. Prosecutors emphasized the confession's validity, supported by audio timestamps showing no coercion. Defense experts estimated Mason's IQ at 95, average, with no diagnosed disorders like psychopathy, though post-conviction evaluations suggested possible conduct disorder. The case underscores legal debates on juvenile justice, balancing accountability with rehabilitation potential in extreme violence. Number 2. Damon McDaniel. Damian Laron McDaniel III, born on July 6, 2002, in Birmingham, Alabama, became the central figure in one of the city's most extensive crime sprees, charged with involvement in 18 homicides, including an unborn child, and injuries to over 30 people across 14 months from July 2023 to September 2024. Prosecutors in Jefferson County accused the then 22-year-old of orchestrating murders that accounted for approximately 30% of Birmingham's homicides between July and September 2024, a period when the city recorded 151 total murders, marking one of its deadliest years since records began in 1933. McDaniel, who had a prior conviction for attempted murder and was on probation at the time, faced capital murder charges in multiple cases, with evidence including ballistics matches, surveillance footage, witness statements, and co-defendant testimonies linking him to the scenes. He pleaded not guilty to all charges, maintaining his innocence through social media posts from jail, claiming evidence manipulation and framing by authorities, while noting his consistent probation check-ins until arrest. Birmingham Police Department, under Chief Scott Dearman, announced his arrest on October 16, 2024. Initially for the September 21 mass shooting, with additional charges filed progressively in November 2024, February 2025, and May 2025, escalating the total to 18 deaths. Co-defendants included Lorenzo Wiley, 30 of Fairfield, Charles Nance, 41, Hatarius Woods, 27 of Fairfield, DeMarco Beck Jr., 29, Niquan Lawler, 22, and Larry Rollins Jr., 31, facing varying charges from capital murder to drug trafficking. Prosecutors sought the death penalty under Alabama law for capital offenses, citing the premeditated nature, multiple victims, and community impact. McDaniel's first trial was scheduled for April 6, 2026, before Jefferson County Circuit Judge Shanta Craig Owens, focusing on the July 13, 2024, mass shooting at Trendsetters Lounge, with defense attorneys arguing challenges in securing an impartial jury due to extensive media coverage in a city of over 200,000 residents deeply affected by the violence. The spree began on July 12, 2023, at Birmingham Fire and Rescue Service Station 9 on 27th Street North, in the Norwood neighborhood. Around 8:30 a.m., shortly after shift change, firefighters Jordan Melton, 29, and Jamal Jones, 30, were conducting routine equipment checks in the open bay when a suspect entered and fired shots without warning. Melton was struck multiple times and died 5 days later on July 17 at UAB Hospital. After being removed from life support, he left behind a wife and young child, having served with the department for 14 months. Jones survived his injuries after treatment at the same hospital. Surveillance footage captured the shooter, later identified as matching McDaniel's description, fleeing the scene. Ballistics from the 9mm handgun used matched casings from other incidents. McDaniel was charged with capital murder for Melton's death and attempted murder for Jones, with prosecutors describing it as a targeted ambush, possibly linked to personal disputes. On November 27, 2023, Reginald Burrell, 52, was found shot dead behind a residence in the 500 block of Clocher Lane in North Birmingham, around 4 p.m. Witnesses reported seeing several suspects approach Burrell before gunfire erupted, suggesting a robbery motive as personal items were missing. Burrell, a local resident with no criminal record, was pronounced dead at the scene from multiple gunshot wounds to the torso. McDaniel and co-defendant Lorenzo Wiley were charged with capital murder during a robbery, based on cell phone records placing them nearby, and Wiley's eventual statement implicating McDaniel as the triggerman. The next incident occurred on January 10, 2024, when Mia Joy Scott, 21, was discovered unresponsive in the driveway of a home in the Oak Ridge Park neighborhood just after 2 a.m. Responding officers found her with a fatal gunshot wound to the head. She was declared dead on site, with no signs of forced entry or robbery, indicating a targeted killing. Scott, a young mother and community college student, had no known enemies, but digital forensics from her phone showed communications with associates linked to McDaniel. He was charged with intentional murder, supported by surveillance from nearby homes, showing a vehicle matching one registered to his family. On February 14, 2024, Valentine's Day, Christian Norris, 20, and Angelia Webster, 20, who was 5 months pregnant, vanished after leaving a residence in the Ensley neighborhood to attend a movie. Their bodies were found 2 days later on February 16 inside their vehicle in the Wylam neighborhood, each shot multiple times in the upper body. The unborn child was also counted as a victim under Alabama's fetal homicide laws. Norris and Webster, high school sweethearts expecting their first baby, were last seen alive at 7 p.m. Mayor Randall Woodfin publicly noted Webster was his cousin, heightening community outrage. Charges against McDaniel included capital murder for 2 or more victims, with evidence from tire tracks and witness accounts tying him to the scene. April 9, 2024, saw the murder of Anthony Lamar Love Jr., 41, in the parking lot of a UPS facility on Englewood Avenue as he walked to his car after his overnight shift ended at 6 a.m. Love, a longtime employee and father of 3, was shot in the back of the head in what prosecutors called a murder-for-hire plot, possibly over a workplace dispute. Security cameras captured a suspect vehicle, later traced to McDaniel's associates. McDaniel and Charles Nance were both charged with capital murder for hire, with Nance allegedly providing payment details and victim location. The violence escalated on July 13, 2024, with a mass shooting at Trendsetters Lounge on 27th Street North during a birthday party around 11 p.m. Gunfire from a passing vehicle struck the crowd, killing 4. Larandis DeAndre Pee Wee Anderson, 24, Markeisha Gettings, 42, Stevie McGee, 39, and Angela Weatherspoon, 56. 10 others were wounded, with victims including partygoers aged 20 to 60. The unlicensed venue had no security cameras inside, but street footage showed a dark SUV firing indiscriminately. McDaniel and Hatarius Woods faced capital murder for 2 or more victims and 10 counts of first-degree assault, based on ballistics matching the weapon to other scenes and Woods' confession. On August 13, 2024, Charlie Herbert Moore Jr., 61, was killed during a burglary at his apartment in the Vice Hills community in North Birmingham. Police responding to a stolen vehicle report heard shots and found Moore shot in the chest inside his home. He was pronounced dead there. The suspect fled in Moore's car, abandoned nearby. McDaniel, Woods, and Nance were charged with capital murder during burglary, with evidence showing Nance supplied Moore's address and McDaniel executed the break-in. September 19, 2024, brought the shooting of Deantrinette Tine Brown, 35, at the 604 Bar and Lounge on 9th Street North around 10 p.m. Brown, a patron not believed to be the primary target, was hit by stray bullets during an altercation and died at UAB Hospital from abdominal wounds. No other injuries occurred. McDaniel was charged with intentional murder, linked by eyewitness descriptions and bar surveillance. The deadliest event was the September 21, 2024, mass shooting outside Hush Lounge on Magnolia Avenue in 5 Points South just before 11 p.m. 4 were killed: Anitra Holloman, 32, Taj Booker, 27, Carlos McCain, 27, and Roderick Lynn Patterson Jr., 26. 17 others sustained injuries ranging from minor to critical, many caught in crossfire during a targeted dispute. The lounge, a popular hookah spot, had over 100 people present. Police recovered over 100 shell casings from multiple calibers. McDaniel faced capital murder and 17 assault counts, with arrest warrants issued based on video evidence and tips. Finally, on September 22, 2024, Jamarcus Seller McIntyre, 32, was found shot dead on a sidewalk in the Southeast Lake area after a ShotSpotter alert at 2 a.m. Two others, a woman and a man, were injured non-fatally and treated at local hospitals. McDaniel, along with Beck, Lawler, and Rollins, was charged with capital murder and 3 attempted murders, plus drug charges for the others. Evidence included a vehicle search yielding heroin and firearms linked to the group. As of February 2026, McDaniel remains in Jefferson County Jail without bond, held in maximum security. His arraignment on January 22, 2025, included heightened security. He waived reading for non-homicide charges. Defense raised jury impartiality concerns, noting Birmingham's homicide rate surged 10% in 2024. With McDaniel tied to 11 of 138 chargeable cases that year. Prosecutors emphasized overwhelming evidence, including digital trails and co-defendant pleas. The cases prompted city initiatives for gun violence prevention, with federal ATF assistance in ballistics analysis. Families of victims, through impact statements, described profound loss. Melton's widow spoke of raising their child alone, while Webster's relatives mourned the unborn baby. Community vigils honored the dead, but questions persist on motives, possibly tied to gang rivalries or personal vendettas. Though McDaniel had no formal gang affiliation documented, Alabama's capital punishment laws allow execution by lethal injection, nitrogen hypoxia, or electrocution if convicted. But appeals could delay outcomes for years. This spree highlighted systemic issues in urban violence, with Birmingham's per capita murder rate exceeding national averages, prompting calls for mental health and youth intervention programs. Number 3. Alan Eugene Miller. On August 5, 1999, in Pelham, Alabama, a suburb south of Birmingham, with a population of about 30,000, 34-year-old Alan Eugene Miller, born January 20, 1965, in the state, carried out a workplace shooting spree that resulted in the deaths of 3 men. Miller, a delivery truck driver for Ferguson Enterprises, a heating and air conditioning distributor located on Highway 31, armed himself with a .40 caliber Glock pistol he legally owned. Prosecutors later established that Miller's motive stemmed from paranoid delusions that his co-workers were spreading rumors about his sexual orientation, specifically alleging he was gay. Though no evidence or witnesses ever corroborated these claims during investigations or trial. Miller had no prior criminal record, but exhibited signs of mental health issues, including severe paranoia, diagnosed by a defense-hired psychiatrist, though this did not meet Alabama's legal threshold for an insanity defense under the Monotone Rule, which requires inability to distinguish right from wrong. The shootings began around 8:30 a.m. at Ferguson Enterprises. Miller entered the building and first targeted Christopher Scott Yancey, 28, a warehouse worker and father of 2 young children, shooting him 3 times, once through the groin into the spine, paralyzing him instantly as he hid under a desk, followed by 2 more shots at close range to the head and chest. Yancey, who had worked at the company for several years, died from massive blood loss and organ damage, as confirmed by Shelby County coroner's autopsy reports showing entry wounds consistent with .40 caliber bullets. Next, Miller confronted Lee Michael Holdbrooks, 32, a sales manager and family man with a wife and children, shooting him 6 times in the chest, head, and torso. Holdbrooks attempted to flee, crawling 25 feet down a hallway while leaving a trail of blood, but Miller followed, stood over him, and fired a final shot into his head at point-blank range. Autopsy details revealed Holdbrooks sustained defensive wounds on his hands, indicating brief awareness and struggle before death. 9 shell casings from the Glock were recovered at the scene, with ballistics tests matching them to Miller's weapon. After the initial killings, Miller calmly exited the building, encountering company vice president Johnny Cobb at the entrance. Miller stated, "I'm tired of people starting rumors on me," before driving away in his truck without further interaction. Cobb entered and discovered the bodies, immediately calling 911 at approximately 8:45 a.m., alerting Pelham Police Department. No robbery or other motives were evident. The scene showed no signs of forced entry or theft, with victims' wallets and valuables intact. Miller then drove 5 miles north to Post Airgas, his former employer on Valleydale Road, where he had worked as a driver until 1998. There, he located his ex-supervisor Terry Lee Jarvis, 39, a married father of 3, in an office area. Without warning, Miller shot Jarvis 5 times in the chest, abdomen, and head, causing immediate fatal injuries from hemorrhaging and brain trauma as per autopsy findings. Jarvis had no time to react or defend himself, with witnesses hearing shots around 9:15 a.m. and finding his body slumped over a desk. By 9:30 a.m., Miller fled the second scene but was spotted by Alabama Highway Patrol troopers on Interstate 65, about 10 miles from Pelham. His vehicle matched descriptions broadcast over police radio, including a white Ford truck with company logos. 4 officers approached with weapons drawn. Miller surrendered without resistance, exiting the vehicle with hands raised. The Glock pistol was recovered from the passenger seat, loaded with a 15-round magazine minus the 14 rounds fired, 9 at Ferguson, 5 at Post Airgas. Miller was arrested on site, read his Miranda rights, and transported to Shelby County Jail. Initial interrogation revealed no remorse. He reiterated the rumor motive but provided no specifics. Blood tests showed no alcohol or drugs in his system, ruling out impairment. The total time from first shot to arrest was under 1 hour, with 3 confirmed deaths and no injuries to others. Miller was charged with 3 counts of capital murder under Alabama Code, Section 13A 540, specifically for multiple murders and murders during employment-related activities. He was held without bond at Shelby County Detention Center. Pre-trial, Miller entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity on September 15, 1999, supported by psychiatric evaluations diagnosing delusional disorder and possible schizophrenia. Defense attorney Mickey Johnson argued Miller's mental state rendered him unable to appreciate the criminality of his actions. However, state experts countered that while paranoid, Miller planned the acts, evidenced by bringing the gun to work and targeting specific individuals, failing the insanity test. On March 20, 2000, Miller withdrew the insanity plea, opting for a standard not guilty, possibly to avoid prolonged evaluations. The trial began May 22, 2000, in Shelby County Circuit Court before Judge D. Al Croson. Prosecutors, led by District Attorney Robbie Owens, presented 25 witnesses, including Cobb, who recounted Miller's statement. Forensic experts detailing ballistics, with all 14 bullets matching the Glock via rifling marks, and pathologists outlining the victim's wounds, emphasizing the execution style killings. Crime scene photos showed blood trails and casings, underscoring premeditation. No fingerprints were needed as Miller confessed post-arrest. Defense called one psychiatrist who testified to Miller's mental illness, but admitted it didn't negate intent. Closing arguments on May 25 highlighted the deliberate nature. 2 locations, multiple shots per victim, no provocation. The jury, composed of 7 women and 5 men, deliberated 3 hours before convicting Miller on all counts on May 26, 2000. Sentencing phase started immediately. Aggravating factors included multiple victims, heinous nature, in watching Holbrook's crawl, and workplace setting. Mitigating evidence: Miller's troubled childhood with an abusive father, military service in the U.S. Army from 1983-1986, as a mechanic, honorable discharge, and no prior violence. Victim impact statements from families: Yancey's widow Kim, who died in a 2012 car accident at 38. Leaving orphans spoke of lost fatherhood. Holbrook's wife described financial ruin. Jarvis's family noted his role as a Little League coach. Jury recommended death 11-1 on June 1. Judge Croson imposed the death sentence on July 31, 2000, citing the crime's brutality. Miller appealed automatically to the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals, which affirmed in 2002, noting overwhelming evidence. Alabama Supreme Court denied certiorari in 2003. Federal habeas corpus filed in 2004 alleged ineffective counsel and mental health issues, denied by U.S. District Court in 2009. Affirmed by 11th Circuit in 2012. U.S. Supreme Court denied review in 2013. Multiple execution dates set, first in 2007, stayed for protocol challenges. Alabama switched to lethal injection in 2002, but faced drug shortages post-2010 due to manufacturer boycotts. On September 22, 2022, execution scheduled at Holman Correctional Facility in Atmore. Miller, weighing 351 pounds, strapped to gurney at 9 p.m. Prison staff attempted IV insertion for over 90 minutes, poking arms, hands, neck, and feet, causing pain and bruising per lawsuit photos. Midnight warrant expired. Execution halted. Miller sued in federal court, claiming cruel punishment under 8th Amendment. Settlement November 2022. Alabama agreed no further lethal injection, opting for nitrogen hypoxia, authorized in 2018 as alternative. Nitrogen hypoxia involves a mask delivering pure nitrogen, causing death by oxygen deprivation. Alabama protocol, 15-minute flow minimum. Miller challenged mask fit and risks in 2023 lawsuit, dropped after undisclosed agreement in August 2024. First used on Kenneth Eugene Smith, January 25, 2024, lasting 22 minutes with convulsions, drawing criticism from UN and Amnesty International as torturous. Miller's execution set for September 26, 2024. At Holman, witnesses including media and families observed. Strapped at 6:00 p.m., final statement muffled, "I didn't do anything to be in here." Nitrogen started 6:14 p.m. Miller shook violently for 2 minutes, pulling restraints, gasped intermittently for 5 to 6 minutes, breath shallowing. Pronounced dead 6:38 p.m., process 24 minutes. Commissioner John Hamm stated it went as planned, shaking involuntary. Witnesses like Rev. Jeff Hood noted apparent suffering. Autopsy pending, but initial reports no external trauma. Post-execution, Attorney General Steve Marshall called it justice, emphasizing victims' heinous deaths. Families found closure after 25 years. Jarvis's brother said it ended a nightmare. Miller showed no remorse, maintaining innocence despite evidence. Case marked 1,100th U.S. execution since 1976 reinstatement. Alabama's 73rd. Debates intensified on nitrogen, humane or experimental. Alabama executed 4 in 2024. Planning more. Pelham community held memorials. Ferguson added security protocols. Miller's ashes returned to family. This case highlighted mental health gaps in workplaces with no prior interventions despite Miller's paranoia noted by co-workers. Alabama ranks 5th in executions, with 69 on death row as of 2024. Number 4. Eric Rudolph. On July 27, 1996, during the Summer Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia, Eric Robert Rudolph, born September 19, 1966, in Merritt Island, Florida, detonated a homemade bomb in Centennial Olympic Park at 1:27 a.m. The device, concealed in a green military-style backpack under a bench near the sound tower, consisted of 3 10-inch steel pipe bombs packed with smokeless powder surrounded by 3-inch masonry nails as shrapnel, totaling about 40 pounds. Security guard Richard Jewell, 33, discovered the bag at 12:58 a.m. and alerted Georgia Bureau of Investigation agents, who began evacuation. A 911 call at 1:25 a.m. from a payphone warned, "There is a bomb in Centennial Park. You have 30 minutes." But the explosion occurred 2 minutes later. It killed Alice Hawthorne, 44, a mother from Albany, Georgia, hit by shrapnel while with her 14-year-old daughter Fallon Stubbs, who was injured. Over 111 others were wounded, including Turkish cameraman Melih Uzunyol, 40, who died of a heart attack while rushing to film. The blast force was equivalent to 2-3 pounds of TNT, scattering debris over 100 yards. Jewell was initially praised but wrongly suspected by FBI and media as planting it for heroism. He was cleared in October 1996 after polygraphs and searches, suing outlets for defamation and winning settlements totaling over $500,000 before his 2007 death at 44 from diabetes. Rudolph, a skilled carpenter and survivalist with anti-government views influenced by Christian identity movement, opposed abortion and what he saw as global socialism promoted by Olympics. He continued bombings. On January 16, 1997, at Northside Family Planning Services Clinic in Sandy Springs, Georgia, a first pipe bomb exploded at 9:30 a.m. in a dumpster, injuring no one but drawing responders. A second bomb detonated at 10:30 a.m. in the parking lot, wounding 7, 4 police, 2 clinic workers, 1 bystander, with shrapnel injuries requiring surgeries. Devices used ammonium nitrate and nails, timed by kitchen timers. On February 21, 1997, at the Other Side Lounge, a lesbian nightclub in Atlanta, a bomb exploded at 9:45 p.m. on the patio, injuring 5 patrons with nails and screws. A second device in a backpack was found at 10:20 p.m. and disarmed by ATF, preventing further harm. Notes left at scenes railed against abortion, homosexuality, and government, signed Army of God. The final bombing was January 29, 1998, at New Woman All-Women Healthcare Clinic in Birmingham, Alabama. At 7:33 a.m., off-duty officer Robert Sunday Sanderson, 35, and nurse Emily Lyons, 41, approached a potted plant hiding a pipe bomb with dynamite and nails. It detonated remotely via radio control as Sanderson inspected, killing him instantly from chest wounds and maiming Lyons. She lost an eye, suffered leg perforations, required 37 surgeries with permanent shrapnel and 80% vision loss in one eye. Damage totaled $750,000. Witnesses Jermaine Hughes, 26, and Jeffrey Tickle saw Rudolph remove a wig and flee. Hughes noted Nissan truck plate KND 117 traced to Rudolph in Murphy, North Carolina. FBI linked bombings via identical components: Galleon's nails, steel plates, timers. Rudolph charged February 14, 1998 with Birmingham blast, October 14 with Atlanta ones. Added to FBI 10 Most Wanted May 5, 1998 with $1 million reward. He fled into Nantahala National Forest, 550,000 acres in western North Carolina, surviving 5 years as a fugitive. Manhunt involved 300 federal agents, infrared helicopters, ground sensors, costing $24 million. Rudolph scavenged dumpsters, gardens, left notes mocking searchers. Sympathizers like Nord Davis Jr. may have aided, though family denied involvement. Captured May 31, 2003, at 3:25 a.m. in Murphy by rookie officer Jeffrey Postel, 21, behind Save-A-Lot Grocery while dumpster diving. Emaciated at 150 pounds, wound from 180, Rudolph surrendered peacefully. Identified via fingerprints. Cache of 250 pounds dynamite revealed in plea deal. Indicted on 23 federal counts including use of weapons of mass destruction. Pled guilty April 13, 2005, in Birmingham and Atlanta courts to avoid death penalty. Receiving 4 consecutive life sentences without parole on July 18 and August 22, 2005, by Judges C. Linwood Smith and Charles A. Panel Jr. In statement, Rudolph justified acts as protesting abortion, over 50 million since Roe v. Wade, sodomy, and Olympic aberrant values, calling deaths regrettable, but necessary. No remorse shown. Sent to AdX Florence Supermax in Colorado, cell 23 hours daily, with terrorists like Ted Kaczynski. In 2023, Rudolph appealed sentences citing 2022 Supreme Court ruling in Concepcion v. U.S. on vague laws, but 11th Circuit denied January 11, 2024, upholding plea waiver. As of 2026, age 59, he remains incarcerated. Victims' impacts. Hawthorne's daughter Fallon became advocate. Lyons co-founded Group for Bombing Survivors, authored Life's Been a Blast. Birmingham clinic closed briefly but reopened. Atlanta bombings cost $4.3 million in damages. Rudolph's brother Daniel cut off hand in 1998 protest video sent to FBI. Case spurred Olympic security reforms, clinic buffer zones. Army of God claimed bombings, but Rudolph acted alone. Total deaths, 2 direct, 1 indirect, injuries, over 150. Number 5. Derek Deer. On August 20, 2016, in Citronelle, Alabama, a rural community of about 1,500 residents located 30 miles north of Mobile in Mobile County, 27-year-old Derek Ryan Dearman, born September 30, 1988, in Mississippi, committed a mass murder that claimed the lives of 5 adults and 1 unborn child, marking the deadliest homicide incident in the county's history. Dearman, a resident of Leakesville, Mississippi, with a criminal record including prior arrests for assault, burglary, and drug possession in Greene County, was under the influence of methamphetamine, having not slept for 6 days and experiencing hallucinations and paranoia, as he later detailed in police statements and court documents. His estranged girlfriend, Lynetta Lester, 24, had sought refuge at her brother Joseph Adam Turner's home on Jim Platt Road, a secluded dead-end dirt lane surrounded by woods, after fleeing their volatile relationship marked by domestic violence reports. The victims were Joseph Adam Turner, 26, a construction worker, and Lester's brother, his wife, Shannon Melissa Randall, 35, a homemaker, their 3-month-old infant son who survived unharmed, Robert Lee Brown, 26, Randall's brother and a laborer staying at the house, Chelsea Marie Reed, 22, Randall's niece, 5 months pregnant with her second child, and her husband, Justin Caleb Reed, 23, a welder. The household totaled 7 people that night, including Lester and the baby. On August 19, Dearman arrived multiple times demanding to see Lester, leading Turner to order him off the property. Around 1 a.m. on August 20, a 911 call reported Dearman's presence. Citronelle Police Department officers responded, searched the wooded area with flashlights, but found no trace and departed after 20 minutes, advising the family to call back if he returned. Sometime after 3 a.m., Dearman, on foot after parking his vehicle nearby to avoid detection, retrieved an axe embedded in a tree stump in the yard and forced entry through a back door. He systematically attacked the sleeping victims room by room. In the master bedroom, he struck Turner and Randall with the axe while they slept beside their infant, inflicting multiple chopping wounds to heads, torsos, and limbs. Moving to another bedroom, he axed Chelsea and Justin Reed, with Justin briefly waking and struggling for a pistol he kept under his pillow. But Dearman overpowered him, striking repeatedly. In a third room, he attacked Brown similarly. Forensic reports from the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences detailed over 20 axe wounds across the victims, causing severe lacerations, fractures, and hemorrhaging, but not immediate death in all cases. Dearman then located firearms in the home: a .45 caliber pistol belonging to Justin and a .22 caliber rifle, and returned to each victim, shooting them at close range. Turner in the head, Randall in the back of the head, Chelsea in the face, Justin in the chest, and Brown in the temple. Autopsies confirmed causes of death as combination of sharp force injuries and gunshot wounds, with toxicology showing no drugs in victims' systems. Sparing Lester and the infant, Dearman woke her, forced them into Turner's Chevrolet Tahoe SUV at Axe Point, and drove 30 miles west to his father's home in Leakesville, Mississippi, stopping en route at a friend's house to smoke more methamphetamine. At his father's residence around 6 a.m., as the drug effects waned, Dearman confessed the killings, expressing remorse and horror, crying during the account. His father, James Dearman, convinced him to surrender. At 11:15 a.m., Dearman walked into the Greene County Sheriff's Office, unarmed, and stated, "I just murdered 5 people in Citronelle, Alabama." Deputies confirmed his identity via Mississippi ID and detained him. Meanwhile, in Citronelle, a relative unable to reach the Turners visited the home around 4 p.m., discovering the bodies in pools of blood, with the axe and guns left at the scene. Mobile County Sheriff's Office responded, processing over 100 evidence items, including blood spatter analysis showing attacks occurred in beds and floors, and fingerprints matching Dearman on the axe handle. Dearman was extradited to Alabama on August 22, 2016, charged with 6 counts of capital murder under Alabama Code Section 13A 540, 1 for each adult, and 1 for the fetus under the state's 2006 fetal homicide law recognizing unborn children as victims, and 2 counts of kidnapping for Lester and the infant. Held without bond at Mobile County Metro Jail, he initially pleaded not guilty on September 1, 2016. Psychiatric evaluations diagnosed bipolar disorder and substance-induced psychosis, but found him competent to stand trial. In September 2018, Dearman fired his public defenders, Shea Golden and Spencer Walker, and pleaded guilty to all charges before Mobile County Circuit Judge Ben Brooks. Alabama law mandates a jury trial for capital cases, despite guilty pleas to ensure proof beyond reasonable doubt. The trial began March 25, 2019, with jury selection from 200 veneer members, seating 12 jurors and 4 alternates. Prosecutors, led by District Attorney Ashley Rich and Assistant JoBeth Murphy, presented 35 witnesses over 5 days, including Lester's testimony detailing the relationship abuse and night's events. Mixo investigators describing the scene with 150 photos showing mutilated bodies. Forensic pathologist Dr. John Fudenberg outlining wounds. Chelsea had 12 axe chops. Fetus died from maternal trauma. Ballistics experts matching bullets to the guns. And Dearman's recorded confession where he said, "Drugs were making me think things that's not really there," but admitted full memory. Defense called no witnesses, relying on mitigation of meth-induced state. On April 1, 2019, the jury convicted on all counts after 2 hours deliberation. Penalty phase started April 2, with aggravating factors: multiple victims, heinous/atrocity victims suffered prolonged pain, committed during burglary. Mitigation: Dearman's abusive childhood's alcoholism, mother's abandonment, military service attempt, discharge from U.S. Army after 2 months for medical reasons, remorse, and addiction history starting at age 14 with marijuana, escalating to meth. Victim impact statements from 10 relatives, including Brian Randall Chelsea's, describing lost futures. Jury recommended death unanimously on April 4, 2019. Judge Brooks sentenced Dearman to death on August 30, 2019, in a 15-page order, citing the crime's brutality as conscienceless and pitiless. Appeals were automatic. Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals affirmed in 2021. Alabama Supreme Court denied certiorari in 2022. Federal habeas filed in 2023, alleged ineffective counsel and mental health issues, denied by U.S. District Court in 2024. In April 2024, Dearman waived further appeals, writing to Judge Brooks, "I am guilty. It's not fair to the victims or their families to keep prolonging the justice that they so rightly deserve." Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall petitioned for execution date. Governor Kay Ivey set a 30-hour window from midnight October 17 to noon October 18, 2024. At William C. Holman Correctional Facility in Atmore, Dearman had final visits from his 2 sons, just 10 and 12, sister, and father. Last meal: oysters, shrimp, and crab claws from a local restaurant. Strapped to gurney at 6 p.m. October 17, 2024, witnesses included 7 media, Marshall, and 3 victim relatives. Final statement: "Forgive me, God, for not being the man that you wanted me to be." Lethal injection protocol: midazolam, rocuronium bromide, potassium chloride. Pronounced dead at 6:14 p.m. by coroner. Aged 36. Marshall stated, "Justice has been served." Edgy noted mental illness evidence ignored. Post-execution, victims' families expressed mixed relief. Brooklyn Randall Shannon's clans said it reopened wounds. Brian Randall believed drugs destroyed a potentially good person. Community held vigils at Citronelle Baptist Church. Case cost $750,000 in trials. Prompted Alabama meth awareness campaigns as state ranked high in usage. Dearman buried in Leakesville Cemetery. Incident highlighted rural domestic violence gaps, with no prior restraining order despite threats. As of 2024, Alabama executed 5 that year, 73 since 1976 reinstatement. Number 6. Ibrahim Yazid. On October 23, 2019, in Auburn, Alabama, a college town of about 76,000 residents home to Auburn University, 19-year-old Anaya Blanchard, a student at Southern Union State Community College and resident of Homewood, disappeared after a routine evening. Anaya, born in 2000, was known for her kindness, love of family, and sorority involvement. She had dropped her younger brother Elijah off at his apartment around 11 p.m. and Snapchatted her roommate Sarah O'Brien around 11:20 p.m., saying she was heading home, followed by 11:40 p.m. message indicating she was with a man named Eric she had just met, sharing her location at an apartment complex near campus. By morning October 24, Anaya had not returned. Her phone went offline, prompting family to report her missing to Auburn Police Department. Her silver 2017 Honda Key RV was located October 25 at a Montgomery apartment complex 55 miles away, with significant passenger side damage, suggesting a collision or struggle, and extensive blood inside the vehicle and trunk. Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences analysts described the blood volume and pattern as consistent with a life-threatening injury, likely fatal without immediate medical aid. No weapon or personal items were found initially. Surveillance from a Chevron gas station on South College Street in Auburn captured key events around 11:20 p.m. October 23, Anaya entered the store alone, purchased items, and exited. Simultaneously, 30-year-old Ibrahim Yazid, also spelled Ibrahim Yazid or Yazid, from Montgomery, was inside buying cigarettes and snacks, glancing toward her. Additional footage showed Yazid exiting the passenger side of Anaya's Curvy after they left together. A witness at the station reported seeing Yazid force Anaya into her vehicle at gunpoint or by physical coercion before driving off. The witness confided in a companion but delayed reporting to police until after her disappearance became public. Yazid had an extensive violent criminal history. In 2012, he attempted to kill 2 Montgomery police officers by ramming his vehicle into theirs during a pursuit, charged with aggravated assault on officers. In 2017, aggravated battery on an officer. Most critically, in January 2019, Yazid and 3 accomplices allegedly robbed and beat 2 men at a Montgomery hotel, leaving a 77-year-old unconscious with severe head trauma. Charges included first-degree robbery, kidnapping, and attempted murder. Despite these, he posted $295,000 bond and remained free pending trial when Anaya vanished. Auburn PD released a surveillance still November 6, 2019, identifying Yazid as person of interest the next day. Arrest warrant issued for first-degree kidnapping. A tip led Florida Regional Fugitive Task Force to Pensacola near Interstate 10. Yazid fled on foot, hid, and resisted commands before marshals extracted him November 7. Extradited to Alabama, held without bond at Lee County Detention Facility. Search for Anaya continued. On November 25, 2019, human remains found in a wooded area of Macon County between Auburn and Montgomery. Confirmed November 27 as Anaya's via dental records and DNA. Autopsy by Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences ruled homicide by single gunshot wound to the head with evidence of blunt force trauma and defensive wounds. Charges upgraded December 2, 2019 to capital murder by Lee County to Brandon Hughes, who announced death penalty pursuit. Hughes stated Yazid acted alone in abduction and killing. 2 others charged. Antoine Squirmy Fisher, 35, with kidnapping for providing transport and evidence disposal. David Johnson Jr., 63, with hindering prosecution for lying about his son driving Yazid to Florida. Charges against Fisher and Johnson later dismissed per court records. Court documents revealed an unnamed witness saw Yazid at a Montgomery home post-abduction, wearing only shorts with a gun and waistband, possessing Anaya's Curvy but refusing to show her. Yazid allegedly admitted shooting a girl who went for the gun, implying she resisted during struggle. Contradicted accident claims. November 2022, Macon County grand jury indicted Yazid on 3 capital murder counts after 10-day presentation by Alabama AG Steve Marshall. During first-degree kidnapping. During first-degree robbery, vehicle and phone, and involving victim and vehicle. Alabama's vehicular homicide statute for capital cases. Pleaded not guilty March 2023 before Macon County Circuit Judge in Tuskegee. Case sparked outrage over bail practices. Yazid free despite violent charges. Anaya's family, led by mother Angela Harris and stepfather UFC fighter Walt Harris, advocated Anaya's law. Passed overwhelmingly November 8, 2022, via constitutional amendment, expands bail denial for violent non-capital offenses, rape, robbery, domestic violence, aggravated child abuse, assault, human trafficking, sodomy, sexual torture, terrorism, murder. Prosecutors request pretrial detention hearing. Judges decide based on evidence, risk to community. 2026 saw bills to strengthen HB 126 requires mandatory hearings for Class A felonies causing death or attempted murder. Effective June 1, 2026 if passed. Additional proposals expand firearm discharge and conspiracy/attempt/solicitation to murder. Anaya identified via distinctive sorrel boots Walt bought in New York. Family described her as loving, full of life. Case featured in 48 Hours podcasts, news specials. As of February 2026, Yazid remains in custody. Trial set March 2, 2026, in Macon County. Jury selection week-long. Final pretrial, February 6, 2026, where defense sought disclosure of any plea/informant deals. Status hearings January 2026, confirmed date holding. Prosecutors seek death penalty or life without parole if convicted. Angela Harris continues advocacy. Family attends hearings, pushing systemic change. Yazid's prior violence and free status highlight bail reform debate in Alabama. Anaya's legacy endures through law bearing her name, aiming to prevent similar tragedies. Number 7. Landon Durham. On January 21, 2020, in Munford, Alabama, a small town of approximately 1,200 residents in Talladega County, 16-year-old Landon Hudson Durham, born in 2003, fatally stabbed his mother, Holly Christina Durham, 36, and his twin brothers, Branson Durham and Baron Durham, both 13, at their family home on Roy Lackey Lane around 3 a.m. Holly was a local resident engaged to be married, working in healthcare, and the boys were 8th grade students at Munford Middle School. Autopsies by the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences confirmed multiple stab wounds to the necks, torsos, and heads as the cause of death, with no defensive wounds on the victims, indicating they were attacked while asleep. The weapon was a kitchen knife recovered from the scene, with Landon's fingerprints and DNA evidence linking him. According to investigators, Landon committed the killings, possibly returned to bed, and proceeded to attend a full day of classes at Munford High School, where he was a junior. Teachers and classmates noted no unusual behavior. He was described as quiet and introverted, with no prior disciplinary issues at school. The bodies remained undiscovered until evening, when a relative, unable to contact Holly via calls or texts, visited the home around 6 p.m. and found the scene, immediately calling 911. Talladega County Sheriff's Office deputies arrived, securing the site and noting no signs of forced entry or robbery, suggesting an internal perpetrator. Blood spatter analysis showed attacks occurred in bedrooms, with trails indicating no struggle. Landon was unaccounted for after school. A be-on-the-lookout GRU alert was issued for him as a suspect, describing him as potentially armed with knives or swords, based on family reports of his interest in weaponry. On January 22, 2020, at 7:45 a.m., Cherokee County Sheriff's deputies spotted him in a vehicle on County Road 71 near County Road 38, heading toward Etowah County. He was pulled over at a store across from Beans and Greens restaurant and arrested without resistance. No clear explanation for his whereabouts overnight or destination was provided. He was transported to Talladega County Jail. District Attorney Steve Giddens announced charges at a press conference, confirming Landon as the perpetrator and noting the murders likely occurred early Tuesday. TCSO Chief Deputy Joshua Tubbs described the scene as one of the worst things I've ever seen in his 19-year career, emphasizing the brutality. No immediate motive was disclosed, though later court filings hinted at family tensions, possible mental health issues, and behavioral problems, with no evidence of abuse or drug involvement. Toxicology on Landon was negative. Under Alabama Code Section 1215-204, juveniles 16 or older charged with capital offenses are tried as adults. Landon faced 3 counts of capital murder, 2 for victims under 14, the twin, and 1 for multiple victims in one incident. Ineligible for death penalty per Roper v. Simmons 2005 due to age under 18 at crime time. Maximum sentence was life without parole, per Miller v. Alabama 2012, if deemed irreparably corrupt. Held without bond, Landon's preliminary hearing on February 28, 2020, found probable cause, binding the case to grand jury. Indicted March 2020 on capital murder. In June 2021, Defense requested youthful offender status under Alabama Code Section 1519-1, which would seal records, avoid jury trial, and cap sentence at 3 years. Circuit Judge William Hollingsworth IV denied it after hearing, citing crime severity. Landon pleaded not guilty and not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect on June 16, 2021, claiming diminished capacity. Psychiatric evaluations diagnosed possible depression and anxiety but found him competent for trial, with no psychosis. Case delayed by COVID-19, motions and evaluations. On October 7, 2024, Landon, then 21, changed plea to guilty on 2 counts of capital murder and 1 count of second degree, promoting prison contraband from possessing a cell phone in jail in 2022. Pleas were open, no deal with prosecutors. DeGiddens confirmed no agreements. Sentencing hearing scheduled for November 2024 before Judge Hollingsworth. As of February 2026, no public record of sentencing outcome was found in searches. But given guilty plea to capital murder and juvenile status, possible sentences include life without parole if judge finds irreparable corruption per Jones v. Mississippi, 2021, or life with parole eligibility after 15 years. The contraband charge carries 10 years. Community response included a vigil January 23, 2020, at Munford Baptist Church, attended by hundreds. Relative Jennifer Harrison called for prayers for victims in Landon. Talladega County Schools provided counselors. No prior red flags noted. Family appeared normal on social media. Case cost estimated $300,000 in investigations and proceedings. Landon remains at Talladega County Jail, with appeals possible post-sentencing. This incident prompted local mental health discussions for youth, though no formal changes. Munford held annual memorials for the Durhams.